back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons. I'm a Master Certified Life Coach and an energy healer. I'm joined today with Amber Coleman-Mortley. Amber is the Senior Director of Community and Culture at the Female Quotient, an emerging media company specializing in viral content, virtual programming, and in-person equality lounge events at global industry conferences. In her role, she supports the work to bring equality to the workplace by expanding the reach and connectivity of the over 5 million strong Female Quotient community. Amber produces and hosts the Female Quotient's LinkedIn Live Community Conversation series on Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, which engages timely topics through a culturally relevant and intersectional lens. Coleman-Mortley previously worked for Gender Avenger, a nonprofit advocating for women's voices to be present in public dialogue. At Gender Avenger, Coleman-Mortley engaged with conferences and lists where the representation of women, women of color, and non-binary people was lacking. She spent a little under a decade at iCivics, building a trusted consumer base on social media, expanding and diversifying the iCivics Educator Network, and establishing the Equity in Civics Youth Fellowship, where she brought students together from rural, urban, and suburban environments, resulting in a listening tour of over 5,000 student responses on how to make civics equitable and relatable to kids. Yes. A decorated 3-sport varsity collegiate athlete. Wow. Amber continued her athletic passion as a PE health teacher and varsity head coach at Sidwell Friends School for 9 years. She holds a BA in African American Studies from Oberlin College and an MA from American University in Media Entrepreneurship. Amber covers civics, K-12 education, EdTech, and family life at Mom of All Capes, and her podcast with her daughters, Let's K-12 Better. She's been featured in the LA Times, New York Times, the Washington Post, Smithsonian Magazine, and various other podcasts, and online media outlets. Yes, Amber, welcome.
Oh my goodness. It's so weird, hearing about the multitude of lives that you've lived. I'm so thankful. Thank you for reading that, because sometimes you forget who you are,
I know, right? I'm on my second career vibe, my second chapter. Also, I love what you're doing as it relates to civics responsibilities and how it's relatable to kids, because it ain't working out here now.
It's really not. Listen, I know my colleagues at my former job, I send prayers up to them all the time, because I'm like, man, this is an election year. This is a contentious election year. I think parents need to do better. And full transparency, my daughters and I have paused our podcast a little bit just to give them, as teenagers, a rest and not to be in the limelight because they're teens, right? So,
yeah.
But I'm like, guys, after this election, we got to pick our mics back up, because there's a lot of people who want to hear what families and young people think about the current state of the world.
Ooh, I just got chills. Yeah. My body just lit up. I feel like it's such an intergenerational quagmire. And I spend a lot of time as an energy healer and a coach. I never want to set anyone aside. So I spend time thinking about, okay, why do boomers feel unsafe? Well, because they only want to do things one way, which was literally based in scarcity and lack, because they were raised by parents that survived the Depression. I'm not suggesting that's a pass for them dictating the way they are in the workplace. And this is my opinion. And I see where it comes from. And oh, by the way, Z's coming in and being like, y'all better care about me first, then I'll show up for you. And it's the exact opposite. Boomers are like, I'm going to show up so you care for me. So, and I feel like everybody in between are like, I'm an elder millennial. So it's like,
right. Why are we fighting? That's literally everyone in between. Everyone in between is like, why are we fighting? Just want to go to work.
We're just holding our fingers in the dam. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's going to bust, and maybe it needs to bust. I spent 20 years in the corporate world before pivoting into my own business a year and a half ago. And that's what I felt every day. It's like, first of all, we have so much more in common, of course, than we do differently. But,
Absolutely.
And because the folks who were in a very specific one type of way don't feel safe any other way. So they're like, oh, cool, COVID's over, which it's not. Come on back in and let's do everything that we used to do the same way. And Z and Alpha are like, absolutely not.
They're like, absolutely not. This is shenanigans. And in fact, they're looking at the rest of us like we're crazy. Like, y'all tolerated this?
Right. Amber, you're so right.
They make fun of us on TikTok all the time. Gen Z, Gen Alpha is constantly making fun of millennials. And I get it. We kind of deserve it, a little bit.
We do.
But yeah.
And I feel like it's just getting earlier and earlier when our soul awakens to oh, wait, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live like that. Yeah. Life is something different. And so to your point, yes, millennials, it took us a minute, It took us a
It
minute. We're
did.
getting there. We're getting there.
It, it did. It took a lot of global traumas for us to live
Oh,
through.
right,
You know what I mean? In order
right.
for us to be like, but wait. And then the fact that generationally speaking, I'm an elder millennial too. We were all
Yeah.
trained to be good at everything. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Be a
Yes.
jack of all trades. Like that's
Yes.
why my handle is mom of all capes. Like I can do all the superheroing, right? Like we're trained to like do it all. And then it's like, people are like, wait, y'all don't, you don't have to do it all, right?
Right.
That's not even humanly possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
survival mode isn't like awesome. We know we can do it. It's like giving ourselves the permission of like, not really necessarily should we? It's like, does this serve my favorite version of myself so that I can show up for me first and then
Yep.
everybody else that I know and love, you know?
Yep.
It's like considering that moment. And to your point, I used to always call myself like a Swiss Army knife, like in the corporate
Yes.
world, because like I was always given the stuff. They're like, just Amy will figure it out. Just give it to her. You know, it's how I was getting promoted. I resonate so much with what you're saying. And I love so much that you're asking Z and Alpha, what do you need? And this is what I would love to have, Amber. I'm sure you're having this already, but like, I would love to get statistically significant pool of
Mhm.
boomers, X millennial, Z alpha all together on an ongoing basis to be like, what do y'all need to feel safe and thriving in this world?
Yes. Oh my God. That would change the game right there. That would literally change the game because I think for some generations, no one's ever asked. And even navigating that is very uncomfortable,
Right.
being vulnerable enough to even say what you need. And I think that having the empathy for people who've
Exactly.
never been asked that question
Mhm.
is very much valuable for how we can navigate and move forward in the workplace to see each other, to respect
Yeah.
each other. Yeah, girl,
Yeah.
listen, spot on. We held a power of the pack conversation, honestly, with some Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and it
Mhm.
was so eye-opening to hear them talk about what they believe the future of work looks like. Should we be even thinking about wanting to work all the time? How
Yeah.
about following my passions? I left that conversation being like, I think my life has changed.
I just got the
What am
chills
I doing?
too.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you need to exercise your unique brilliance in this world while
Yep.
being able to earn a living in a dignified way that you can support yourself toward the new dream? The
Yep.
the old American dream is gone,
It's
y'all.
gone.
And I think
It's gone.
it's gone, and for many it didn't even begin to happen, you know. So it's interesting you say about empathy because I did talk with someone who was in the baby boomer generation, and I had a chance to get really real with them, and they said I didn't want to go work from home more because I didn't know how to use all the technology. I was really that
Oh,
made them feel unsafe, and
yeah.
so because they never, and I'm going to broad brush this, baby boomers by and large didn't have the space to feel vulnerable or to express like what hurts them or might make them feel embarrassed. They were like, everybody back to the office. You know, and
Yeah.
I'm making a huge broad brush assumption, but that was one example. They knew how to use the stuff at the office, not like
Mm,
at home. They didn't feel comfortable. So they were like scrambling and they didn't like that feeling.
mm. I
So,
mean, not, oof. I think about it like on one hand, I'm like, all right. But on the other hand, I'm again just say like some people have never been asked
right.
even the question of like, what's your favorite color, bro? Like even something as simple as that.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
would you like to have for dinner?
Yeah.
How does this make you feel? And if you
Yes.
continue to live multiple decades where no one cares really about your opinion, but they care about your output, you become a hardened individual. There's no choice.
There were many women in my corporate space were like, you have it better than I am, suck it up. I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. You're like,
It,
but ma'am.
so it's an and like I really appreciated that boomer sharing that with me. And I think that Z would be like, well, we had to figure it out. So you figured it out too. There's just like a, it's an and
Today.
it's allowing the duality of many things to be true at once. So we give
Yes.
space. Uh, I was telling Amber, it's so awesome to be on the other side of the mic with you because I watch you every Tuesday in Power the Pack. Yo, everybody tune in, Power the Pack. Amber leads Power the Pack by the Female Quotient every week, and it's such incredible ranges of topics that impact women, humanity, the workplace. I mean, I love it so much. And I get real amped up. Anyone that has seen me in Power the Pack, like my comments are like, brrr, like all the way
No, we
down.
love it. We love
I,
it. Keep them
I get,
coming.
I get real amped. I love it so much. Aside from that, though, Amber, that I know you from, to your point, What moves are you excited to be making right now? What's your favorite color? And how's your heart?
Okay, girl. So moves that I'm excited about. Like, thank you for asking. Moves that I'm excited about. Well, one, a physical move. So I'm physically moving my family from the East Coast back to the Midwest from whence I came 20 years ago. So
Wow.
to be closer to family. So I'm really excited about that. So that's a physical move that I'm really looking forward to. It's stressful. It's
Mm.
weird. I've been documenting it on my Instagram story, and it has provided me with some humility around you can't control everything, and you
Mm.
have to be open to things changing and like having a plan. And even if you have a backup plan, who cares? The universe does not, you know? Um, being vulnerable and open with my own children about my own inadequacies, right? And like figuring out how do I problem solve in front of them and alongside them, giving them space to be leaders in our home and take on projects and be a project manager of some of the packing and some of the moving, right? So like, giving teens access to doing things that will really make a big impact in their family. That has been something that I've learned during this process. So one move, the physical move, like career moves, I think just being able to like continue to contribute to this mission at the Female Quotient to bring equality to the workplace has been amazing. I've gone so many wonderful places that I've never been able to fully like imagine that I would go to. Like I just got back from the Olympics, which was a childhood dream of mine. And we had an amazing event with a partner there that was just absolutely wonderful, talking about the power of women in sport, and
Mm.
especially this year with gender parity. What does that mean? And like, how can we keep the conversation going after the Paris Olympics is over? So career wise, just being in a space where people are amped up about providing access to others, giving voice to others, like, hell yes, sign me up. Favorite color? I mean, I'm a Jules color girl, so like I love the secondaries. So like the purples, the oranges, the greens. Those are my jam. Although I wear all black for work all the time, like, in my non-work life, I'm like literally like just I love jewel colors. They bring me so much joy. I also love them because they're combinations of two colors that have come together to make something beautiful and new. So that's just my old weird quirk of loving stuff like that. And then my how's my heart? I think that is a very complex question if you are a person who is aware of the way that the world is right now. My heart is hopeful at the moment. I'm watching the Olympics and I'm watching so many stories of small countries in the Caribbean for the first time ever. Their national anthem is being played, like St. Lucia, first time ever for an island of 180,000 people. And, the Caribbean, my children's father, he's from the Caribbean. So like, I'm very much tuned into what's happening in that region of the world. And like, it's just so beautiful to see a Black woman bawling at her national anthem being played for the first time ever in Olympic history. There's hope, right? Then I see on the other end what's happening in Great Britain, right? Or what's happening with the language around our election, right? And I'm just a bit curious as to how human beings will resolve these issues that continue to emerge and continue to cause pain in each other's lives and experiences. So, how's my heart? It's a balance of like hope and confusion and frustration and love and exhaustion. It's a very human heart.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. That's how I feel on a given day. I'm a healer and a warrior, and
Yeah.
those two intersect. And so a lot of times I will have a lot of space and grace for myself to say, do I want to fight today? Can I fight today? And
That's a good
if it's
question.
if it's a no, then I'm soft and I allow that because I know that the next day I'll amp up and we'll go hard again. So meeting myself and the world where we both are and knowing and trusting, like so many of us out here awakening to what we do and do not want. And for the first time, I feel in my life, I'm given the chance to actually determine what I truly do want and do not want. And
Mm,
so I'm helping those who can hear that as well to say, what do you want? If you don't want the other, then let's go. So
yes.
thank you.
Yes. And being like mutually inspired. I think
Yes.
a lot of people get lost in the doom and gloom and the misery
Right.
and do not see like we have an opportunity to be mutually inspired by each
Right.
other, by our stories that we have to share and to tell, by the work that we see each other doing on a day-to-day basis, by the privilege of being alive right now at a certain time with other people. I think we undervalue that and underestimate how powerful the privilege of being alive. I'm alive with you
Yes.
right now, in this time. That is a privilege. I'm alive
Yes.
with whoever else is listening to this. Like, it's a privilege to be alive with you right now. Like, that
Yes.
to me, understated, completely understated.
Those trees behind you, they're with us right now. Like those are
Yes,
beautiful.
yes,
I love this because the energy right now, we're here to your point in this space and time. And some of it is understanding why some of the upsetting things are coming forth again in this space and time, because many of us have been chosen to be on the front lines to say, like, okay, again, what do we want? What do we not want? And we're leading the charge. I believe that's especially women right now. And it's not to say we
yeah,
don't need men. It's the divine feminine rising. And every human on this planet has divine feminine. And that energy has been exiled for so long that now we're like, oh, let's bring her back in. And oh, by the way, as we bring her back in, the toxic masculine will continue to feel pinched and get louder. So, to your point, some days it's holding the line, some days it's resting, some days it's just trusting yourself and knowing that you have, I'm going to call it a humanhood around you,
yeah,
that sisterhood, humanhood around you that can lift you up the way we're lifting you up. So, like, especially in an election year, like I'm making my vibe about not tearing him down, but lifting her up. Like, that's my
yeah,
vibe. And so, okay, how do we do this? So, I love all three things that you said about your moves. I'm in Chicago, so if you're coming anywhere close, I want to have lunch. Number
yes,
two, my living room is purple and yellow, so jewel tones, yes.
yes,
And then third, yes, complicated heart. We meet ourselves where we are. Thank you for the
absolutely.
fight and the love. So one of the things that catches my ear, among other things, in the Power of the Pack each week is you called it an equality watch party. And I wanted to hear more about that, about what would you say that is? And I feel really resonant with it because part of the flow that I'm in for almost a year now is I had marketing for Workplace Psychological Safety Act, which is a piece of legislation that we're presenting to each state, and it will hold employers accountable for when there's a psychological abuse event occurring. We lose people every single day because when they experience abuse in the workplace and they raise their hand and report, quickly they become either the further target to be ousted or they leave on their own and take a really big hit to a further hit to financial, physical, emotional, psychological health. So we want to put this law into place so that both the abused, mainly they have more options to be able to take care of themselves and get out of a toxic situation. And this is my big and I want to hold the abusers accountable, meaning, listen, I know you don't feel safe right now. That's why you're harming others. To keep your job, you're going to have to get some help, like something of that vibes, because right
Yeah,
now we know that the higher stakes employee is protected, and that's typically the abuser. Anyway, so all of that being said, with the work that I do with Workplace Psychological Safety Act, when you say equality watch party, does that resonate? Because I know you do a lot for the workplace.
yeah. So when we think about, specifically like for Power of the Pack, what we try to do is how do we bring stories forward in a way that humanizes the individual telling the story? That's why, it's not really like a taboo topic. If we're thinking about like how Black women experience the glass cliff, we've had Black women come in and talk about that. We've had people talk about how do you support survivors of intimate partner violence, right? Like, how do you support somebody who's bringing these invisible or unseen or unacknowledged experiences with them into the workplace? They may show up in the workplace differently because of these invisible, unseen, and unacknowledged experiences. How do you navigate that to be a good colleague? When you become aware of someone's lived experience is completely different from yours or might be traumatic, how do you honor that and show up as a colleague respectfully so that they don't feel ostracized or weirded out by partnering with you on projects, etc. So I think for Power of the Pack, we're really working on, when it's an equality watch party, we're really working on like, you guys who are watching should be engaged in the conversation. This isn't just a panel of experts who are just going to drop information on you for an hour and then like, peace out, we're done. No, like we want to know, like, what are your stories? Does this resonate with you? We pull people's comments up on the screen. Like we talk about the questions that are brought up in the community. We poll our community before we have the conversation and then share those insights during Power of the Pack just to make sure, like, are we going in the right direction? Does our community actually know about what we're going to talk about? Or do we need to step back from how we thought we were going to have this conversation to make sure that we level set so that everybody's on one accord? So an equality watch party for us with Power of the Pack is really thinking about how do we bring these experiences, how do we expose people to new ideas, new experiences, new ways of being, while also honoring those new experiences, new ideas, and new ways of being in a way that is a really rich, wonderful conversation between those being observed and the observers, which is really hard to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the one thing I loved during the pandemic was, for example, people watched Beyonce's Homecoming together. They used Twitter. People were on Twitter and they all turned on Netflix at the same time to watch Beyonce's Homecoming. I love being a part of things like that because when you're engaged in an experience together all over the world, you open the door for people of all kinds of backgrounds and lived experiences to contribute to a one shared experience at a specific time. Marketing is really weird, and I'm going to go off on a quick tangent. Marketing is really weird right now because, you know, we have these personas that we have to like figure out, like, you know, Jane likes this and she's married or not married, has a dog, whatever. Keisha likes this, you know, Jen likes this, you know, and so we're doing these personas, trying to cater the experience to a persona to capture as many individuals under that persona's umbrella. Well, the way that the world is pivoting now is how do we present one experience, like a Coachella, like an inauguration, like the Super Bowl, but create so many access points so that no matter what your persona is, you feel like you are ridiculously connected to what is happening on that stage or what is happening in that arena or what is happening during that speech. That is where we are right now as a society. And so with our little microcosm of lived shared experiences, we're really trying to figure out how do we bring the female quotient community in so that everyone feels like they can plug into this conversation and feel like they have a stake in improving the lives of their colleagues through whatever, you know, it's hard through a screen. It's hard through a screen, but I feel like we kind of do it, you know?
You do it. You do it. I watch you every week, and you personally do such an exquisite job of making sure everyone's not only heard, but seen both in the massive audience that you drive, but also the panel. Like, you work so hard at that, and like, it's not an easy feat. So thank you so much for doing that. It's a rare, unique brilliance that you have. I love what you said about marketing because, again, coming from 20 years corporate marketer, it's in my blood. Like, it's honestly, I'm so grateful and fortunate for that experience of marketing of itself, because as a brand new entrepreneur, I have so many peers that are like, what is this marketing stuff? What's happening? And innately, that was just easy. That's the easy part for me. Don't talk to me about accounting. But I feel historically in marketing, we niche down so far that then we get to a point where we are, I don't know if it's polarizing is the right term. It's almost divisive amongst the different niches. And then like when you niche back out, then you're talking to everybody and it's like, well, how do we talk to anybody if we're talking to everybody? And I always tell people, like, yeah, have a general sense of who you want to talk to. Sure.
Yeah.
And consider being aware of that. Someone's always watching. So what I do from an energetic perspective, and again, as an energy coach, I set forth my unique voice and what I stand for. And so that way the universe has something to respond to me for, like an energetic match, high five, be like, oh, there it is. Mm-hmm. Here's what it is. I think we as a society used to focus on like pain point marketing. Here's what you don't have and you should feel bad about it. That's why you should get it. We're moving and we've been moving more into like a desire. Here's how cool this is. And you have full autonomy to self-select in or out of this orbit.
Yes. Or, and even like, hey, did you know you're a weirdo and there's a community of weirdos for you. Let me tell you. Or, hey, you're super passionate about this. There's a group of super passionate people who are just as passionate as you are. Like, I think that's where we're going now, where it's like, how do I find my people?
Yes.
Right? And my people is broadly defined on any given day because I'm a multifaceted, multidimensional being. So my people aren't just Black women who have bad vision and wear cool glasses. My people are, my people are moms. My people are anime folks. My people are former athletes. My people are, people who care about like civics and politics and government. My people are like people who like care about the earth and like want this place to be better. Right. So like, I think when we market our products, our shows, our resources as a community driven, hey, guess what? Here's an opportunity for you to connect, because we are moving into a world where technology is far more pervasive in our lives than we could ever imagine. Yes, we should be excited about artificial intelligence. We should be, as humans, lazy humans, we should be excited about the shortcut, but also the shortcut alienates us from the other people who are in three-dimensional forms, right? Like the shortcut alienates us from being able to like really make human connections with other people. The shortcuts also create barriers that we had no intention of them creating. Yes, it creates opportunities where you and I are on this Zoom looking at each other, like vibing, looking at our cool glasses, having the best time ever. But also like, back in the day, I would have just flown out to Chicago, hung out with you. We would have gotten a coffee and then we would have talked on our mics. So like, I think we need to think about like, as we move into this world where the digital becomes the forefront of every single thing that we do, whether it's through AI, whether it's new technologies or screens or whatever, community is at the forefront of how we keep people engaged, connected, caring, and also reminding them of their humanity. You can get lost very quickly just navigating through the apps on your phone. You know what I mean? Navigating the apps on your work laptop and figuring out, do I need to be on Slack? Do I need to be on Teams? What do I need to do? You lose your humanity. You lose the humanity of other people when you're only on thinking through the technological devices that you've been given. So like community, marketing through community, creating spaces for people to connect either in person or virtually, that is the future of how we maintain our humanity. At least that's my opinion. I'm not a god, but you know what I'm saying? That's what I think, so.
For goddess, but I love the vibe of that because again, for a long time, I feel like we've been in a copy paste culture, whereas like now we're like, okay, let's get out of copy paste. Like it's like a control V, and that's undo for youngins. Like undo all the stuff that was not unique to us. Go back in the backyard and like play with sticks and dirt and like figure out what was that? What did that used to be? Who was that?
Yeah,
and bring
some
up
mud pies.
Yeah, bring your weird, let's get awkward with it, That's what I want to see. Like, I have this sweatshirt from Mahogany Mommies. It says, fuck normal, I want magic. And like, that's the whole vibe. Like, as we start to wind down, to your point about, like, again, I think one of your unique brilliances is that you have this amazing superpower to call people in. I do too. And my warrior wants to be like, sometimes get on board or get out of the way. Like I get a little spicy about it. There would be so many Fortune 200 executives that I know in my network that I'd want to bring to the pack. And they'd be like, absolutely not. Because they are so hardwired into the system of what I feel the workplace is rooted in US patriarchy, white supremacy, colonialism, capitalism. They're so deeply rooted in that because that's how they've survived. So do you try to pull them in, or do you say like, okay, keep it moving, and if I'm here, if you ever want to stop by? Because part of me wants to like go toe to toe, but I'm like, is that my vibe? Is that my energy? Does that bring me a lower frequency? That kind of stuff,
Yeah, no, I feel that. I mean, I think Power of the Pack kind of resembles our Equality Lounge, which is our in-person experiences at industry events where the doors open. It's a badgeless space. All are welcome. If we see you lurking or by the door, I'm usually near the door and saying, hey, I see you peeking around the corner. Why don't you come on in? I think for me, my personal philosophy And I've worked in civic education where you got some folks with some wild ideas, you know what I mean? Who think certain things and think kids should and should not be learning certain things, right? I think that prepared me very well to navigate spaces where I come in contact with people who may not care about building LGBTQ plus pipelines for leadership, may not care that Black women, when they experience microaggressions, it is impacting their autoimmune system and it is, harming them physically, not just hurting their feelings, which you might think. So for me, I always love to leave the door open. Mm-hmm. I also always, me personally, love to figure out what other people are experiencing to make sure that I'm not speaking for anyone, that I'm always making sure that I'm providing platform and space for them to speak, informing myself of how I can support other people or how our lived experiences might be the same, and hoping that by modeling that, more people will get on board with participating and engaging. I think a lot of folks are not that they don't want, for example, to support Asian women leadership, right? They just don't know how.
Right.
Or they don't have any Asian women in their orbit to figure out, or they don't see the Asian women in their orbit, right? And so they can't mentally conceptualize what that process looks like. I think the more that we talk about it, the more that we let people who have these experiences talk about it, the clearer the solutions become, the more collaborative the solutions become. But I personally am I'm a leave the door open kind of gal. You know what I mean? I'm not going to fight someone unless it's for real, absolutely terrible and dehumanizing to either myself or others, just because people are crazy. But
I mean, I love the way you put it, always leaving the door open. I do lead with that vibe as well. Also, if you come to me with some energy and it goes left and you say things, I will, depending on especially where I am in my 4-week menstrual cycle, where I am in that cycle, I might engage or I might just say, not for me, and walk away. It just depends on the moment. But I do try. There's people very close to me that have very opposing thoughts and worldviews. One of my favorite things to do, and it makes all of the rest of the family so uncomfortable, my father-in-law and I love to get into some political debates, but it's really healthy and respectful, but it makes everyone so uncomfortable that we have to go away from the family and have this conversation because they're oh my gosh, I can't believe they're talking about this.
I mean, I encourage people to lean into the discomfort, right? You have to lean into the discomfort. I also encourage anyone with a marginalized experience, and I will say this as just a blanket statement, if you're engaging in a conversation and you have any kind of marginalized or historically underrepresented experience and you are fighting for your humanity in that conversation, you are not expected to educate people. You should not be expected to dehumanize yourself to get your point across. Protect your peace.
Yes.
Your ancestors did not fight for you to thus be dehumanized in the 21st century. You know what I'm saying? I do want to say that.
I love that.
Fight what you can and then let go of the rest.
That's really beautiful. And to your point, protect your peace. You always have the choice to opt in or opt out of someone's energy. I used to say create a safe space. There's a brave space where two people are coming together and don't know necessarily if they're aligned and they jump in the pool together. I feel like that's my father-in-law and I. A safe space is where you proactively know where everyone stands and you're coming together to chat. So anyway, I feel that you create both again in the pack each week. So it's a really beautiful vibe. So cool. Amber, where can we find you?
Oh my God. So I want everybody, make sure you're following the Female Quotient. Connect with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the other socials. I think we're on TikTok. We're on X, formerly Twitter. Follow us at Female Quotient. It is literally something for everyone there. We love people of all genders, all backgrounds. So please, you will find some goodies. Share them with your colleagues who might not be as evolved as you, because the way that we present these concepts and our content is very much in a way that I call it edutainment, Sesame Street for the workplace almost, right? Where no one can be offended by it. You look at it and you're oh, I can learn from this. Oh, that's dope. So everyone follow the Female Quotient everywhere. I love new friends, so connect with me on LinkedIn. Like, I absolutely love connecting with people. I love finding speakers for, our conversations. I love hearing new innovative ideas about the workplace. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm pretty boring, but you can do that too. But I really want everyone to make sure you're definitely following the Female Quotient on our platforms, because for real, like, it's lit. It's super lit.
It's my favorite organization, I would say,
Aw,
of like
yay.
all. It has been. I didn't know about Female Quotient while I was still in corporate. It was like the moment I left and I started opening up my network. And also, oh, by the way, I started being like real, right? Like,
Yeah.
back when I was in corporate, it was very like tailored messaging and very, anyway. And the Female Quotient came into my orbit and I was like, oh, it's just a place where I feel so seen and I can say the things that really work me up, mostly around like women's health and what we still don't know about it. Just like true equity, humanity. It's a really awesome place to be. So join Power of the Pack. Amber leads it. It's so, so, so incredible. And even if it's not your vibe, check it out, because you never know what you could resonate with. Not only even if the content, but also, as Amber says every time, connect with at least 2 people in the pack. So
Yep.
it's a huge networking opportunity for everybody. So just to evolve the workplace where, y'all, we know it's not working for the big 4 generations right now, in a different way for each one of them. So it starts here. Amber, closing remarks as we wrap up.
I mean, my closing remark would be hug somebody. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's your kids, whether it's your best friend, your mama, your daddy, your parents, your grandparents, aunt or uncle, some mentor. I think we're living in times where gratitude is absolutely necessary, and also being able to show people love while they're here is absolutely necessary. So yeah, hug somebody, give somebody a compliment, or give an extra tip to your barista. Like, do something good, paying it forward without any desire or intention to get it back in return.
I choose you to hug. So,
Oh, thank you, girl. Okay, like we did
again,
it virtually. We did it virtually.
we did it. We did it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber. We love you here. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate you so much, Amy. Thank you. My pleasure.